today is Tisha B'Av, which all this David Chizuk was Zera Shimshon was Zoich to start giving. Mainly Zera Shimshon every week. It should be a big suchus for the whole Klalis, for suchus for everyone who need Yeshuas, and everyone needs tremendous hatzlacha in everything what they need. Whether it's Panosa, whether it's Shidduchim, whether Shalom Bayis, everything should Mr. Shem should be big zuchus. Should only have Mr. Shem simchas, should only have be zoich for Geula, Shleima b'm Hiru Meinu, Mr. Shem. As we know, Klalis Chazal say every day, it's a Shas, a Churban, Shas, it's hard times for Klal Yisrael, it's difficult times for Klal Yisrael. But Kol Zaman, being Golos, to have the destruction, but a person, obviously, could bring that Geula on, could be the Torah, the mitzvahs, and with that connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Chazal say, every single, B'chol Dor Vador, if the base of Mikdash is not rebuilt in our door, in our generation, it's Ke'ilu, it's as if we destroyed it. It's not only what happened then, even now, Bizman Hazeh, in the Tovshin Pei Vov, Bizman Hazeh, where it's still Golus, we're still lacking that building of the Beis HaMikdash. It's Ke'ilu, we destroyed it. Us and the whole Klal Yisrael is one. And we have to think, what is the way? Why is the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash? What is the way to hopefully Mr. Shem, the way to build the Geula, to build that, to be Zoicha for the Geula. And I said in my last day of Chizuk, obviously for Torah, which Gufo, the Churban happened for lacking the Chashivs of Torah. But the Torah is obviously what build that Emunah, what build that connection to Hashem. I want to tell you a true Maisa, a true story of somebody who live with that Emunah, and they live with that Mesirus Nefesh, even in dark times and even in hard times, you live with that connection to Hashem. I think this will hopefully mechazek us, because you can say every person Mesirus Nefesh, I could bring it on, and I could Mr. Shem, build that connection, and Mr. Shem, that will bring Yeshua. And let me tell you something, a true Maisa, which brought down the three Hirsch Meisels, was in the camps, in Auschwitz, in the concentration camps. And a man, a Yid, came to him with the following shaila. And he came to him, look, he said to, begging to, a very important shaila to Tzvi Hirsch Meisels, that my son just is now in a bunkhouse, and it was in a place where everyone knows that the next stop would be the gas chambers. And my son was there, and I have enough money on me to bribe the Nazis to take my son out and to let him be free. And am I allowed to do it or not? And the Shaila, he asked the Shaila to Rav Meisels, and Rav Meisels said, what's a Shaila? If you have enough money to bribe your son, what's the Shaila? Obviously you should do it. If you bribe the Nazi, obviously you should do it. But he said, no, if the problem is, if I go and bribe the Nazis, then and to take my son out, they will place another Yid in the line to be killed, to be gas, instead of my son. Am I allowed to do it or not? And the Tzvi Hirsch Meisels thought about it, and he said, sorry, I cannot answer the Shaila, I don't know, I cannot answer the Shaila. To answer such a Shaila, we need Dayanim, we need Dayanim of 72 Dayanim, we need Teshuvos, we need Sephorim, Poskim to answer such a Shaila. I'm not in a position at this moment to answer such a Shaila. But the man said, but I love my son, I want to see my son again. Lvov, you saying me I can't do it. He said, I didn't say I can't do it, I just said I don't know. And the man was crying, he was in tears. He said, if Lvov said, until when Lvov said I can do it, I'm not going to bribe the Nazis. And he's waiting, and he said, please, and he said, the Vov said, Rav Meisel said, I don't know. If the Vov said, I don't know, I'm not going to do it. And here, Rabbi Isai, here we talk about a Yid who has enough money to bribe the Nazis. He has enough money on him. But if the Vov said no, he didn't say no, he just said, I don't know. I cannot do it. I cannot risk it. If it's a pia locha, Suffolk nefashos, I cannot do it if me go against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I cannot do it. And it was Taka. He said, this man was said over that he was zoicha to Rosh Hashanah. He was zoicha to Akedash Yitzchak. the Avraham Avinu tried to offer his son Yitzchak, tried his best to offer his son Yitzchak, but he said, I did, but I actually offered my son. He walking around, he was dancing besimcha. He was dancing besimcha, realizing that he was talking about a person who gave up all what he has to offer his son. So much Mesirus, never so much Emunah. And this is the betoch, and this is what the yid, this is what a person we can learn from the Maisa is that you need to have that Mesirus Nefesh, and you need to have that Emunah. Just if they did it, we can also do it. It's such an important lesson we can learn. To be zoiche, they live with that Emunah, live with that kivas elokim, that connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's such a true Maisa which we can learn from. And if you have that Mesirus Nefesh, and if you really zoiche to have that Emunah, what they had, that's good guarantee Bez Hashem to build the Geula again. Bez Hashem. But I also wanted to finish off with another true Maisa, another true story of what happened in the camps. A famous story, I mentioned this a few times, that brought down from the famous story of Yehuda Wallace was seeing a Yid taken to be killed from the Nazis at a Stachel concentration camp, and this Yid threw him a pair of tefillin towards him, a bag, and he noticed it was a pair of tefillin. And then this Yid, always every single morning he wakes up extra early to wear this pair of tefillin. And one morning, they used to wear it before the call, but one morning the Nazis came in a bit early to do the call, and he saw this Yid was wearing a pair of tefillin. And the Nazi got so annoyed, got so angry, he took the pair of tefillin out of the Yid, and he snatched the number of him. He was so angry. And automatically did a big call together, and he called out his number, this Yid, and the Nazi said, you're now going to be public, going to get death with public hanging for wearing these pair of tefillin. And you can imagine his face. You can imagine everyone was forcing him to be watched, they were forced to watch him being killed, and the Nazis, was about to hang him. And the Nazi asked the Yid, what is your last wish? What do you want to do your last time? And you can imagine what would happen. What is this last wish? And this Yid said, I want to wear this last pair of tefillin again. I really cherish the tefillin. I really want to wear it my last time again. And the Nazi gave him over the pair of tefillin. You can imagine on his face, just before he's going to be nifta, before he died, he's able to say these words of tefillin again, the last time. He was saying it with such a simcha. It was on a different level. And he said to the crowd, I'm the winner. You don't say, I am the winner. And the Nazi said, no, you dog, you're not the winner. We are the winner. If hanging is not better punishment for you, then we're going to give you a worse punishment, a bigger punishment. And they took the Yid Yehuda Wallace out of the hanging place, and they put him with two big rocks by his shoulders, and by his arm there, and you're going to get lashes, about 30 times lashes on him. And if you drop these rocks during the 30 lashes, you're going to get shot immediately. And the Nazis whacking him, whipping him, and he thought the Nazis just give up already. It's impossible to overcome such a torture. Just give up already. But the Yid said, no, I'm not giving you the pleasure of killing me. And he was holding on very tight, very strong to these rocks. And the last lash, he never died, he fainted. And the Nazi probably died already and they left. But obviously the guys in the camps had hope in him, and they thought that he never died. And he took him to the bunkhouse, and he just fainted, and eventually he became conscious again, and he lived, and he moved, he escaped from the war, from the camps, and he remarried again after he moved to Eretz Yisrael. But showing that the Emunah, the betochen, they trust in Hashem, that even in the darkest of times, even in hard times, they live with that Emunah, they live with that kivas elokim, And this is what a person needs to remember when coming to these days now in Tisha B'Av, to remember, to have that Emunah, on Hashem, because Hashem, the schus of that Emunah, the schus of the Mesirus Nefesh, that will bring protection to the world, and that's what the only way which help it to stag and to grow. A person needs to remember in these days now, and today on Tisha B'Av, it's good for a time to realize, to really mechazik, to help us to stag the next following year. Mr. Hashem, we should be zoicha very soon. Instead of sitting on in the instead of sitting on low chairs, we should be zoicha Bez Hashem to be zoicha next year to have the geula, and to be in Yerushalayim, with Kodesh, for the Beis Hamikdash. And Mr. Hashem, with these mice, with these stories we can learn. They did their Mesirus Nefesh, so too we can also do it. And Mr. Hashem, we should be zoicha to have that geula and to see that day, Mr. Hashem, we will be zoicha to see that kedusha again. Mr. Hashem,